All right, here's another elimination. Um, Now, this takes practice. I look at this equation and I see that I can make the coefficient smaller, meaning that, for instance, the first equation, right? The first equation, let me get this real quick. The first equation, I see that it has a common factor of 2. That's equation 1, and that's equation 2. So if I divide equation 1 by 2, right, let's see what I get. 8x minus 5y is equal to 5. Okay? And if you notice now, working with 8x is a lot easier than working with 16x and negative 10y. On equation number 2 also, if I divide it by 2, I get negative 4x minus 3y is equal to 3. Right? A little bit more manageable as opposed to working with 8x and I mean negative 8x, negative 6y. So if you look at both equations, and you can, if you see a common factor, you can divide the equation by, do that, so you have smaller coefficients to work with. Now, so these are my new equations now. I'm going to call it 3 and 4, okay? Equation 3, equation 4. Now I said to myself, which variable do I want to eliminate? Again, just pick a variable, doesn't matter. I'm going to pick y. I'm going to eliminate a y variable. If I look at it now, if I look at the y variable, I have a negative and a negative. So one of them has to be positive. But also I have a 5 and a 3. So I have to say to myself, what number can I multiply both equations by so that the y variable would have the same coefficient? What variable? All right. I say let's multiply the first one by 3. That's going to give me a negative 15y. If I do that now, I have to multiply the second one by 5 to get a 15y, negative 15y. But I want this to be positive because remember the sign has to be opposite. So I need this to be positive. Therefore, I have to multiply this equation by negative 5 to get a positive 15y here. All right? So let's do that. So let's go with equation number 3. Let's multiply that out. I'm going to get 3 times 8, 24x. 3 times negative 5y, that gives me 15y is equal to 15. I'm sorry, equal to 15. All right, let's go with equation number 4. That gives me 20x because a negative 5 times a negative 4 is a positive 20x. All right, now a negative 5 times a negative 3y is going to give me a positive 15. I made a mistake here. I made a mistake. This should have been a negative 15y. I'm sorry about that. A 3 times a negative 5 is a negative 15y. Okay? And then negative 5 times 3 is equal to negative 15. All right? So let me extend my page a little bit now. So I'm going to add both equations. This gives me 44x. That becomes 0. Is equal to 15 and negative 15. That is 0. All right? So to solve for x now, I divide both equations by 44. That cancels out, and x is equal to 0. Now, if x equals 0 now, let's go back to my original equation. All right, I'm going to use, let's go with number 2. All right, x equals 0. So that's going to be minus 8x. I'm trying to get my, it's going to be 8x, negative 8x minus 6y is equal to 6. That's the equation I'm going to substitute x equals 0 into. All right, need more space. Should be negative 8x, right? Negative, is it? Yeah, I'm sorry, I left off an x. Negative 8x. All right, so negative 8, what is x now? X is 0. So 8 times 0 minus 6y is equal to 6. That becomes 0 minus 6y is equal to 6. And then to solve for y now, I need to divide by negative 6. Right? So this becomes negative 6y is equal to 6. Divide both sides by negative 6 is equal to, divide by negative 6. Let's take this out. Right? That cancels out. I'm left with y is equal to negative 1. So my solution to this system of equation is 0, negative 1. Let's verify if this is correct. I'm going to substitute 0, negative 1 back into the equation and see this is right. Okay, so let's go with, all right, we're going to say 0, negative 1. 0, negative 1. Let's see if that is a correct solution. Okay, when x is 0, that becomes 0. Negative 1, that's negative 1 times that, that becomes 10 plus 10 equals 10. All right, see that? When x is 0, this becomes 0. 16x becomes 0. And negative 1, let me try to rewrite this a bit. That becomes negative 16 times 0 minus 10 times negative 1 is equal to 10. That is 0 right here. Minus 10 times a negative 1, that's a positive 10 is equal to 10. So that verifies that my solution of 0, negative 1 is correct. A very long problem.